October the 24th, puffballs, earthballs, stiltballs, stalkballs, and dieballs. Puffballs are in a group called stomach fungi, gastromycetes, on the account of the way in which their spores ripen inside a stomach-like bag. Before this then ruptures and the spores get released. One of the most charming features is the way raindrops often disperse the spores as they fall on the puffball, releasing them in what looks like small puffs of smoke. This occurs in mature puffballs, which have a small aperture at the top, whereas others just develop a tear in the sac and the spores are carried away by the wind. In the past, they have had many other names, such as fuzzballs, bullfists, and English puffista, puff here meaning a finger, and fist referring to breaking wind. They have also had many uses, such as staunching the blood from wounds. Smouldering puffballs were placed beside hives to pacify bees and allow their honey to be taken. A similar practice was used as a moxa, where small smouldering pieces were put on the skin to cure various maladies. One of the most famous fungi in the world is the giant puffball, Calvasia gigantea. This usually grows to the size of a football, but has been known to grow to the size of a sheep. Its surface is like white kid leather, and when it matures, it tears open to reveal a greenish mass of rusty-coloured spores. The number of spores produced by a single specimen has been estimated to be in the region of 7 billion, and estimators for much larger specimens have reached the dizzy heights of 10 to the power of 25. This makes it not only the most fecund creature in London, but probably on the planet. If each spore grew to another full-size puffball, it has been estimated, somewhat surprisingly, they would weigh 800 times that of the Earth. Yet, like the one that has grown in Battersea Park for many years, it is likely that it will, like all the others, on average, just leave a single individual to maintain a static population, even though this defies most sensible thought. Giant puffballs are a good edible species when young, and were popular in Victorian London, where they were always served at the Freemasons' Arms in West London, particularly on state occasions. Since Greek and Roman times, children have used them as footballs, no doubt aiding the dispersal of their spores. The most common puffball in London, the devil's snuffbox, Lycoperdon perlatum, is much smaller and encountered on most forays. It is snow white and covered in many tiny pointed granules that break off the moment it is handled. As it matures, it gets more yellow and then brown before releasing small clouds of spores from an apical aperture. These spores, all virtually the same size and weight, were collected as powder to use in air fry experiments. As air passed over a model plane, a cloud of spores quickly showed where there were any eddies. Always one to exaggerate, Gerard said these clouds of spores caused a kind of blindness. In fact, Lycoperdon perlatum is perfectly harmless and even edible when still white all the way through. A similar species, Lycoperdon piriforme, is the only puffball you are likely to see growing on wood. Others, such as Lycoperdon echinatum, have many more spines and tend to be found in beech woods. Lycoperdon foetidum is almost a Van Dyke brown and is found under conifer. Like many other puffballs, when all their spines rub off, they often reveal an interesting reticulate pattern beneath. Lycoperdon mammiforme is rarer, preferring chalky woods. Its cream-coloured woolly scales on its surface rather than the usual spines. Another group of puffballs, Bovista and Vercellum species, look more like golf balls and even have a preference for short grass. Bovista plumbea, the paltry puffball, has a white outer skin that often peels away, revealing an inner lead colour, although its spore mass is olive brown. Another Bovista species in our area starts off white but can end up black. Like some others, it is only joined to the ground by a thin mycelial cord, which often breaks, so we just find them rolling around on the surface. In the case of the meadow puffball, Vercellum pratense, we often just see the small brown ball left after its spores have blown away. The common earthball, Scleroderma citrinum, is very like a puffball, but with a much more coarsely warted skin. Scleroderma citrinum is one of the most abundant fungi in London, and often one of the first to be noticed in the autumn. Its tawny yellow skin is not unlike a truffle, which explains why it was artificially darkened then sold as truffles in the past to adulterate pâtés. Fortunately, although it has an unpleasant smell of burnt rubber, it's not poisonous. Other closely related species that might also be found are Scleroderma bovista, Scleroderma cepa, Scleroderma areolatum, and Scleroderma verrucosum. Then there are the otherworldly earthstars, geastrum species. These often have a more leathery outer skin, which as it dries splits open to produce arms, which then curve back like a clawed hand, with the puffball perched on the top, often with a neat collar. The whole look is very unusual and slightly sinister, which may account for them also being known as Satan's snuffboxes. They tend to be found on sandy soils near beech trees at the edges of woods. Of those likely to be found in London, Geastrum triplex has a thick collar, Geastrum pettinatum, a stalk which holds the puffball erect, and Geastrum sessile, which has neither a collar nor a stalk. Another close relative, Astraeus hygrometricus, has been used as a weather indicator. Its arms open when it is wet and close when they are dry. In this way, the claw changes shape in different weather conditions. The dye ball, Persolithus arizus, was at one time used to produce a good golden brown or black dye. It is much rarer and usually found half buried in the sandy soils of pine woods. Its spore mass, which is what was boiled to produce the dye, is a black jelly of what look like small white peas. Lastly, there are the even more bizarre stalkballs and stiltballs. The winter stalkball, Tulastoma bromale, has its puffball set at the end of a 5 centimeter stalk. Usually on sandy soil, it is also known to turn up on old walls, where mortar was used rather than cement. The sandy stiltball, Batteria phalloides, is similar but has a much more shaggy stalk, possibly up to 30 centimeters or more in length, and has even been found growing in hollow trees.